There's a lie that women have been living with for decades, one that quietly undermines their relationships, chips away at their confidence, and sabotages their love lives in ways they often don't even recognize. It's a question that echoes in therapy rooms, in late-night conversations with friends, and in the quiet moments of doubt that settle in after yet another disappointing date. What do men really want? I've heard it asked 1,000 different ways over the past 30 years, and every time I feel a mixture of compassion and frustration, because that question reveals something deeper, something far more important. You see, the problem isn't the question itself. It's the assumption behind it, that the key to love lies in figuring out what he wants. That if you could just crack the code, say the right things, act the right way, be the version of yourself that a man finds irresistible, then maybe, just maybe, you'd finally have the relationship you long for. But here's the truth. That whole way of thinking is backwards. Instead of asking, what do men want? The real question, the one that changes everything, is this. Who am I really? Because what mature, emotionally grounded men find most attractive isn't performance. It isn't perfection, it's authenticity. It's emotional presence. It's a woman who refuses to mold herself to fit into someone else's expectations because she knows and values who she truly is. Over the years, I've seen countless women come into therapy utterly exhausted from trying to decode men. They've read the books, followed the advice, played the games, and still ended up confused, disappointed, and emotionally drained. But then something amazing happens. They stop trying, not out of resignation, but out of a deeper realization. They begin reconnecting with themselves. They stop shaping their personalities around what they think is attractive and start asking, what feels real to me? And that shift? It's not magic, it's neuroscience. The male brain, especially past the age of 35, develops what I call a highly refined authenticity detector. After enough shallow relationships, superficial conversations, and emotional performances, a mature man's brain becomes finely tuned to detect what's real and what's not. When he encounters a woman who is fully herself, grounded, open, emotionally whole, it triggers something deep in his limbic system. Something visceral, something ancient. It's the part of his brain responsible for emotional safety and long-term bonding. It lights up, not because she's trying to impress him, but because she isn't. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. And authenticity has layers, many of which most women aren't even aware of. The first, and one of the most powerful, is this. 1. Emotional presence without the need for validation. Imagine a woman who can sit with someone in silence, without feeling the need to fill the space. Someone who can express an opinion that differs from his, without panicking about whether he'll still like her. A woman who doesn't need to be liked to feel worthy. That emotional presence, without performance, is incredibly rare. And because it's rare, it becomes magnetic. Men who are emotionally mature don't use words like perfect or hot or amazing when describing the women who've impacted them most. They say things like real, calm, and grounded, because what captivates the mature male psyche isn't spectacle. It's substance. A woman who's emotionally solid creates what I call active relaxation. The man feels emotionally safe, and yet also deeply intrigued. He can be himself around her, and because of that, he's drawn closer. It's not a trick. It's a truth. 2. Unmasked joy. The second quality I've identified over decades of work is what I call unmasked joy. This isn't fake optimism or a constant smile. It's the genuine ability to enjoy the small things, to laugh at herself without self-pity, to find beauty in everyday life. Unmasked joy is powerful. Neurologically, it lights up the same regions of the male brain that respond to natural rewards like food, touch, and music. It creates a sense of positive emotional conditioning. Over time, a man begins to associate a woman's presence with feeling good. Not because she's trying to make him feel good, but because her own joy is real and it radiates. But here's the key. This kind of joy only exists when a woman has made peace with her past. When she's no longer battling her story but has integrated it. When she can talk about her life not as the tragedy or a badge of honor, but simply as a part of who she is, without victimhood and without performance. That kind of emotional peace is deeply attractive to a man seeking long-term connection, because he's not looking for drama. He's looking for stability. And stability doesn't mean boredom. It means emotional safety. That's what keeps mature men coming back. 3. The inner shift that changes everything. I remember a patient who said something that forever changed how I think about attraction. She told me, I stopped worrying about whether he liked me, and instead she started asking, do I like myself? That sentence holds a profound truth. When a woman is in constant performance mode, when she's always watching herself, measuring, adjusting, she's living from a place of insecurity. And whether she realizes it or not, men feel it, especially mature men. But when she flips the dynamic, when she starts to wonder whether the man in front of her is even worth her time and energy, everything changes. There's an energetic shift. The man stops evaluating her, and instead he starts wondering, am I good enough for her? This reversal is powerful because it's based on one of the deepest psychological principles of attraction. We're drawn to people who value themselves. When a woman radiates self-respect, not arrogance, not aloofness, but quiet confidence, she becomes magnetic. And that magnetism isn't about beauty or charm. It's about energy. It's about how she holds herself. It's about how she chooses to show up in her life. 4. Communication from the emotional center. Picture a conversation where every word lands gently. No rushing. No frantic need to fill the silence, no hidden agenda. That is communication from the emotional center. When a woman speaks from this place, 3 things happen instantly. 1. Her voice slows down. There's a calm rhythm, pauses that let meaning breathe. 2. Her tone softens. It carries warmth instead of anxious energy. 3. Her words gain weight. Because she isn't scrambling for approval, each sentence feels deliberate, worth hearing. Men notice the difference even if they can't name it. A centered voice tells his nervous system, you're safe here. You don't have to perform. And in that safety, his attention sharpens. He's not just hearing, he's listening. Communication from the emotional center also means owning your message. No hedging, no apologizing for existing, no disclaimers like, this might sound silly, but you've thought, you've felt, and now you share. Straight, clear, and kind. That level of self-honoring inspires respect in anyone, but especially in a mature man whose patience for guesswork is long gone. 5. The rare power of listening without an agenda. Most people listen in order to counter-argue, give advice, prove how wise they are, or hurry the story along so they can take the stage again. Now imagine a woman who listens for one reason only, to understand. She's not loading her mental slingshot with responses. She's simply there, eyes steady, shoulders relaxed, curiosity alive. Therapists call this active, receptive presence. I call it pure gold. When a man experiences it, 2 subtle shifts occur. 1, his defenses drop. He feels no need to edit himself because nobody's grading. 2, his admiration rises. He doesn't just like being heard. He values the one who hears him this way because it's so uncommon. Listening without agenda doesn't mean losing your own voice. After he finishes, you respond from your center, sometimes with words, sometimes with simple warmth in your eyes. Paradoxically, the less you rush to solve him, the more he trusts you with everything he can't solve alone. 6. Emotional sovereignty, the quiet revolution. Emotional sovereignty is a phrase I use for the ability to own your inner weather. Stormy feelings may blow through, but they don't send you scavenging for someone else's umbrella. You know how to steady yourself. Here's how sovereignty revolutionizes attraction. It signals high relational value. A sovereign woman isn't a ticking emotional bomb. She can share feelings without detonating blame. It frees the man to be human. He doesn't have to stay on guard against unpredictable surges of need or accusation. It invites partnership over caretaking. Two adults walking side by side, not one pulling the other uphill. You'll see sovereignty in simple moments. She gets triggered, breathes, names it. I'm feeling tense right now, so I'm going to take a 5-minute walk and come back. No drama, no silent punishment, no volcanic lecture. Just ownership. From the male perspective, this steadiness feels like oxygen. His brain registers, conflict won't break us. We can repair. We're safe. That safety transforms into respect. And respect feeds desire. 7. Why sharing too much too soon pushes men away. There's a myth that total openness proves authenticity. In real life, dumping your unfiltered life story on date number 2 feels less like intimacy and more like emotional trespassing. Here's the neuroscience. The brain handles vulnerability best in measured doses. Too much too early overwhelms the listener's limbic system. Instead of closeness, it triggers subtle withdrawal. This is heavy. I barely know you. I'm not ready to carry all of this. A healthier rhythm looks like this. 1. Baseline rapport, light talk, laughter, shared observations. 2. Small reveal, a genuine feeling, a short anecdote that shows depth. 3. Reciprocity. You pause, giving him space to offer something comparable. 4. Gradual layering. Each new share rises only slightly above the last. Think of intimacy as a staircase, not an elevator. Each step strengthens the support beams. Skip steps and the structure wobbles. Remember, authenticity equals truth plus timing. The timing is what prevents truth from becoming an accidental weapon. 8. The delicate art of pacing, emotional intimacy. Pacing is the heartbeat of sustainable attraction. It asks, how much of me is appropriate right now? How much space does he need to integrate what he's learned before we move deeper? Practical ways to pace. Use the 70-30 rule. Aim to speak about 70% of what you feel ready to share. Hold the extra 30% until trust expands. Check your body. If your chest tightens or your voice speeds up, you're likely pushing past comfort, yours or his. Slow down. Let silence work. After a meaningful disclosure, allow quiet seconds. Silence is when connection settles into the nervous system. Cutting it short with chatter actually evicts emotional resonance. Pacing also involves physical availability. Being eager to see him is lovely. Being perpetually on call erodes the very tension that fuels attraction. Hold your own plans. Keep your own routines. Selective availability communicates, my life is full. You're welcome in it, but I won't abandon it. Men don't interpret that as gamesmanship. Mature men translate it as high self-worth, and high self-worth, once again, is riveting. Communication from the emotional center, agenda-free listening, and emotional sovereignty create an ecosystem where intimacy can breathe. Add thoughtful pacing, and you've built a framework that invites a man not just to enter, but to stay. Notice that none of these elements require manipulation. You're not memorizing scripts or choreographing schedules. You're cultivating inner skills that naturally express themselves in outer behavior. And when the inner reality is strong, the outer effect is inevitable. A mature man's authenticity detector will sense it. His nervous system will relax into it, and his curiosity will keep circling back for more. 9. Sustained curiosity, the magnetic force of growth. If there's one phrase I've heard again and again from men describing the women who captivated them the most, it's this. She kept surprising me. That surprise wasn't about games or drama. It came from something deeper, an ongoing sense of discovery. A woman who stays in motion, who's growing, reading, questioning, evolving. A woman who doesn't see life as a stage to perform on, but as a story to keep writing, honestly, boldly, unapologetically. This is what I call sustained curiosity. It's not just a tool to keep someone interested. It's a way of being that naturally creates lasting psychological arousal. Think of it like this. The male brain is wired to scan for patterns, to solve puzzles, to find meaning. When a woman is multidimensional, when she's layered and complex, not because she's trying to be mysterious, but because she's alive, she becomes endlessly engaging. And here's what's important. It's not about being chaotic or unpredictable. Sustained curiosity isn't about throwing curveballs for attention. It's about having your own orbit, your own ideas, your own passions. These aren't things you perform, they're things you embody. 10. Authentic mystery versus manufactured mystery. There's a big difference between authentic mystery and what many have been taught as playing hard to get. Manufactured mystery is strategy. It's withholding texts, pretending to be busy, or showing disinterest in order to create a reaction. It's artificial. It drains your energy. And worst of all, it attracts men who are addicted to the chase, not the connection. Authentic mystery, on the other hand, is effortless. Why? Because it's born from inner richness. You don't have to act mysterious when you are genuinely in love with your life. When you're cultivating your creativity, investing in your friendships, deepening your wisdom, and enjoying your own company, you're naturally less available. Not because you're playing a game, but because your life is full. That kind of fullness is magnetic. Men feel it. They want to know what drives you, what you'll say next, where your mind will take them. And most importantly, they want to deserve a place in your world. 11. Emotional refuge without becoming a therapist. One of the most overlooked aspects of attraction is something I call emotional refuge. It's the feeling a man gets when he's with a woman who accepts him, flaws and all, without trying to fix him. This isn't about being a doormat. It's about offering presence over pressure, about letting someone feel their feelings without interpreting them, analyzing them, or making them about you. So many relationships falter because women confuse empathy with responsibility. A man shares a difficult emotion, and she immediately steps into the role of fixer or therapist. But here's the thing. A man doesn't want to be analyzed. He wants to be seen. He doesn't need a solution. He needs space to be human. When he finds that space, a space where he can show weakness without being diminished, where he can be vulnerable, without losing his masculinity, it activates something primal in his attachment system. It tells him, I'm safe here. I can rest here. I can love here. 12. Emotional support versus emotional fusion. Let's draw a crucial distinction. Emotional support is grounded, clear, respectful of boundaries. Emotional fusion is clingy, chaotic, and often masked as love. When a woman fuses emotionally with a man, she begins to take his feelings on as her own. If he's stressed, she spirals. If he's distant, she collapses. Her emotional world becomes an echo of his, and that's not love. That's disconnection from self. True emotional support looks very different. It says, I'm here for you, but I'm not here instead of you. I care about what you feel, but I don't confuse it with who I am. Your bad day won't define mine. And men, especially emotionally evolved ones, sense this difference immediately. They trust women who support them while standing solid in their own emotional landscape. That support creates respect, and that respect breeds lasting attraction. 13. Emotional erotic tension, keeping the fire lit. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood components of lasting desire. Emotional erotic tension. Not manipulation. Not playing games. Just maintaining the kind of emotional and energetic spacing that keeps two people curious about each other. Think of it like this. If everything is shared too quickly, too transparently, too predictably, there's nothing left to explore. And when there's nothing left to explore, attraction fades. The male brain, like yours, craves novelty. But novelty doesn't mean new people. It means new depth, new revelations, new emotional tones. It means not putting all your cards on the table from day one. Not because you're hiding anything, but because you're living into your layers and allowing someone to discover them over time. 14. Selective availability and personal wholeness. Another concept I've developed is what I call selective availability. It's the quiet power of a woman who chooses carefully where she places her time, energy, and affection. She's not universally accessible. She doesn't text back immediately every time. She doesn't cancel plans at the first hint of interest. She doesn't live on standby for affection. Why? Because her world already has rhythm. It has joy. It has richness. Selective availability is not about coldness. It's about self-respect. It says, I value myself. I value my life. And anyone who wants to be a part of it must meet me at that level. Men don't feel rejected by that energy. They feel challenged in the best way. They rise to meet her not because she demands it, but because she inspires it. 15. The difference between performance and presence. Let's come back to something central. None of this is about performance. Not one piece of this puzzle is about pretending, withholding, or manipulating. It's about presence. Being so deeply rooted in yourself that you don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You simply live it. And that perhaps is what draws a mature man the most. A woman who no longer seeks approval because she's already approved of herself. 16. Mutual inspiration. The fuel of lifelong attraction. Over the years, I've sat with hundreds of couples, some on the verge of collapse, others deeply in love after decades. And in the healthiest, happiest relationships, one pattern always stands out. It's not how much they have in common. It's not how often they agree. It's not even how passionate their connection is. It's this: they inspire each other, not with big speeches or dramatic declarations, but through how they live, how they grow, how they quietly raise the standard for what's possible, not by pushing each other, but by being examples. This is what I call mutual inspiration. It's not about fixing each other. It's about elevating each other. A woman who lives with passion, who follows her curiosity, who treats herself with dignity, she doesn't need to tell a man to do the same. Her energy invites him to rise. And if he's the right man, he will. In return, she feels inspired by his integrity, his depth, his consistency. It becomes a dynamic of reciprocal admiration. And this is one of the most powerful emotional drivers in long-term love. Because admiration sustains desire. It keeps the eyes open, the heart engaged, the mind curious, and the bond evolving. 17. Parallel growth, together but not entangled. In mature relationships, you don't lose yourself in the other person. You walk beside them, rooted in your own identity, and committed to your own evolution. This is what I call parallel growth. It's when two people move in the same direction, not because they're fused together, but because they're aligned. Each has their own path, but the paths run side by side. And as they grow individually, they grow together. I remember working with a couple who'd been together for 15 years. They weren't in crisis. They came to therapy because they wanted to deepen their connection. What struck me wasn't just how much they loved each other, but how much they still admired each other. Each one saw the other as a mystery still unfolding, as a person still growing, still fascinating, still worthy of discovery. That kind of dynamic isn't luck. It's a choice. A daily, conscious choice to grow and to support the growth of the person beside you. 18. Emotional generosity without losing yourself. There's a kind of woman who gives deeply. She celebrates her partner's victories. She listens with real interest. She creates beautiful moments in the relationship, not out of obligation, but from the joy of connection. But here's the key. She doesn't lose herself in the process. This is what I call emotional generosity without personal sacrifice. Her giving comes from abundance, not from emotional hunger. She doesn't give because she hopes it will earn her love. She gives because she already feels full, and fullness is contagious. When a woman gives from that place, a man doesn't feel pressured or indebted. He feels grateful. He wants to return the energy, not out of guilt, but out of joy. But here's the danger. Many women have been conditioned to believe that giving must come with self-denial. That love means shrinking, overextending, or becoming the emotional caretaker. It doesn't. True generosity says, I can love you without losing me. I can support you without saving you. I can show up for you because I also show up for myself. 19. Celebration without appropriation. One of the most quietly powerful qualities in a psychologically attractive woman is her ability to celebrate a man's success without trying to own it. She doesn't say, well, we did it, unless she truly played a part. She doesn't tie his achievements to her worth. She doesn't feel threatened by his growth. Instead, she smiles with genuine pride, knowing that his win doesn't diminish her. It enriches the partnership. This quality, what I call celebration without appropriation, is a clear sign of emotional independence. And emotional independence is deeply attractive. It tells a man, you don't have to shrink for me to feel secure. You don't have to fail for me to feel needed. You can shine and I'll celebrate you for it. That's rare. And because it's rare, it's valuable. 20. Conscious emotional stability. The unsung superpower. Let's talk about one of the least glamorous but most powerful qualities in attraction. Conscious emotional stability. This doesn't mean being emotionless. It doesn't mean suppressing how you feel. It means being able to feel fully without being ruled by those feelings. A woman with conscious emotional stability can feel sadness without sinking into despair, feel anger without exploding, feel joy without losing her grounding, navigate conflict without turning it into a crisis. And this kind of stability, it's like a lighthouse in a storm, a calming, steadying force that makes everything else feel possible. Mature men, especially those with demanding careers or emotionally complex lives, crave this. They don't want more chaos. They want peace that's earned, not performed. They want a partner who doesn't escalate every disagreement, who doesn't confuse tension with tragedy, who doesn't make every moment a test. That doesn't mean you can't be passionate. It just means your passion has depth, not volatility. Your fire has purpose, not destruction. This kind of presence is what I call a calming force. And it may be the single most underrated quality in building long-term magnetic love. Tmyon, personal abundance, the final piece. Let's bring it all together. The woman who most deeply captivates a mature man is the woman who least needs to. Why? Because she's built a life that is already full. Full of joy, full of meaning, full of self-respect, curiosity, and calm. She doesn't need a relationship to feel complete, but she can deeply enrich one. And that is the energy that attracts not just any man, but the right man. Personal abundance isn't selfishness. It's maturity. It's security. It's knowing your value and sharing it, not proving it. Abundance shows up in how she spends her time. In her hobbies, her goals, her friendships. In how she treats herself when no one's watching. She doesn't live from emotional lack. And so she doesn't attract men who prey on it. She attracts partners who respect her, who grow with her, who amplify the life she's already built. The magic of mature love. In the end, true attraction, the kind that lasts, the kind that grows, the kind that feels like home and fire at the same time, doesn't come from what you do. It comes from who you are. From the woman you become when you stop chasing love and start living in it. The most powerful love stories begin not with finding the right person, but with becoming the kind of person who no longer settles for anything less than truth. When two complete people meet, they don't merge. They don't lose themselves. They amplify each other. They build a partnership that's more than love. It's transformation. And that is the quiet, radiant magic of mature love.